Good. Right. I want to welcome you all. Thank you for coming today. I think we all know whether you're a speaker or a conference attendee, it can be quite scary to stand up on this stage. And we are lucky enough to have some fab aspiring speakers here today to talk about all sorts of weird and wonderful topics. So we're going to call them up one in turn. They've got 10 minutes each. And we are going to start with Rajani. So would you like to come up, please?
Up and down. Yep. Hello, everyone. Good morning. I got here in the taxi, and so I'm a bit stressed. I'm trying to relax. So if I'm going fast, just let me know. I only have 10 minutes anyway. So to introduce myself, I'm Rajani Rao, Principal Technologist at Viva. I'm also a founder, one of the founders of Women Coding Community. So for the women out there and the men out there, go check it out. I'm also a fractional CTO for Mellow Baby. Sit on the technical as a technical advisor for AI startups. And today I'm going to talk about serverless. I'd like to know who in this room have used serverless. Okay, a few. So I'll start by, oops, the wrong way. I'll start by introducing serverless. Because there are quite a few who haven't used serverless. So if I were to use an analogy for serverless, it is traditional computing. If I use the analogy of a restaurant and cooking at home, to compare the traditional computing and serverless computing, this is how it looks. So if you are cooking at home, you have to go procure the ingredients, you got to decide what you got to cook, go shop, cut, prepare whatever it takes to cook, and then clean up after. And if more guests arrive, you got to repeat that process if you do not have food. Serverless computing, on the other hand, is like eating at a restaurant. You just walk in, say, look at the menu that's prescribed and say, right, I want to eat that. The restaurant takes care of preparing the food, of course, cleaning everything. You just eat, pay for what you ate, and then disappear. And if more friends arrive, you can repeat the same thing. You can just hand them the menu. It's as convenient as that. So serverless computing is as easy as eating at a restaurant. So if you look at serverless computing, there's less or no infrastructure management, and security comes out of the box for you, of the infrastructure, of course, like disk hardening, etc., etc. You get scalability and high availability, and of course, cost and energy efficiency because you pay for what you use. And serverless sometimes is often thought it's function as a service, but serverless is much more than function as a service. But function as a service, like Lambda in terms of AWS, is a good example. There are other services like databases, DynamoDB, storage options like S3, SQS, so on and so forth, that are all serverless. So I'm going to start by giving a simple example of how we use serverless and how that changed the way we do things in our organization. So a little bit of a background about this this service. It's a simple REST HTTP API. It is given away free with like chipsets, right? So we are a semiconductor. We sell chipsets, and this service comes free. So that also means that we do not have budget to scale and do whatever we want. So the top budget we got for that is we could host in 3 Windows EC2s. We used back then IIS, which is a web server, and we hosted it. And it is a globally used service, and so you'll have night and day, like deluge of traffic. But what we realized is having these EC2s and having Windows, I mean, if you've used Windows before, whenever the network traffic came in, they would be that the CPU would max out because the the EC2s couldn't handle all that traffic that came. We had about 6 billion requests per month, and it just couldn't cope, obviously. Patching made it difficult because if you've used IIS, you'd know that every time we patched, the IIS wouldn't come back. It was like, yeah, it would never come back, and then you had to, again, reboot. So what it meant to the team is that we spend 50% of our sprints just on maintenance and call outs, and we were all burnt out. It felt like we were in a boat with holes, and we just like trying to scoop the water out. At one point, I said enough is enough, and I went to the leadership team, say, hey, we need very minimal budget. We're going to port this to serverless, and I was a certified AWS certified architect, of course, and that helps. And in one day, I will port this. And they challenged that I can port this in one day. And I said, yes, we can. So literally took the C# code that was written as a web server and ported it as Lambda functions. It didn't touch any functionality other than the logging, right? Swapping the logging. So we didn't have to test the functionality in any way. Of course, replace the IS with ELB, load balancers, storage. We initially used EFS for disk, for storing the data, but realized when it went live that it broke, like half the requests didn't make it. It's because we ran out of subnets on the disk because they use IPs. So then we switched it to S3 swiftly, and then that's the storage. Also, the challenges of serverless is if you use serverless functions, that you have cold starts because you only pay for what you use, which means it's not running when you don't use it. So the cold starts, we schedule the Lambda to run in maintenance mode every 2 hours. So we resolved all the issues, and at the end of it, we realized that we were getting 6 billion requests per month, but previous to this, we didn't know because none of the requests, some of the requests didn't make it. Also because these are semiconductor chips, which means there was retry mechanism. So every time it hit the API, the device went into like retry mode. And these are low power devices, which means the customers, there was battery consumption on the devices. So for them, it was delight because none of the devices were retrying; they all worked, and we could see like a lot of how the customers used it, and we decided we are going to monetize this, and we monetized it. We gave a couple of free requests, and then like that the customers wanted. Beyond that, they'll have to pay, and it became one of the highest paying a revenue generating service for something that's so simple. We just had to monetize it and we start bringing the revenue. And of course, we were able to cost optimize and, it's gone from phase 1 to phase 2. But I think the most important thing I'd like to highlight is that we had an empowered team with more time for innovation because the next project, we had all that time to really focus on what we had to build and we innovated a next product. So potential of serverless, of course, we know infrastructure scalability and cost efficiency, but I think the two things I want to highlight is focus. Your developers can focus on building what they need, like what the product, the business needs, rather than maintenance. And the other thing is well-being. With this well-being is what made me change it over to serverless. So we were so exhausted with all that firefighting and on-call duties, and then the team really felt energized, and you could feel like we became a high-performing agile team, partly because of this. So I'd say embrace serverless today. If you haven't, start small, give it a go, and play around with it because it's really powerful. It may not apply to every solution, but give it a go and step into a future where your creativity is the limit, not your infrastructure. Thank you very much.
Perfect timing as well. Thank you very much. Okay. Oh. So, Yemurai, you are next. Would you like to come up, please? Okay, round of applause. Thanks.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yemurai, And in today's presentation, I'm going to be looking at the intersection of two disciplines, which is chemistry and cybersecurity. These disciplines seem seemingly unrelated, but hopefully by the end of this talk, you will see where the relationship lies between the two. This talk is split into two segments. The first part is about me and my squiggly career, which will showcase you how I was inspired to create this talk. And then the second part is going to explore the intersections. So about me, so I'm the content creator behind the brand STEM Babe on TikTok. My platform is essentially to share opportunities for people who use social media as a video search engine. So people go on social media and say, hey, I want to get how to become a data analyst. So instead of using Google, they'll go on TikTok or Instagram and put how to become a data analyst, how to get into cybersecurity. And I realized that there was a bit of a mismatch between information shared on LinkedIn, being in industry and in the know, with a diverse talent pool on social media who use it as a video search engine. So I'm essentially bridging the gap with people, industry experts, and potential talent pool. It's almost a alternative form of recruitment using social media. I'm also a cybersecurity engineer within finance. I'm actually currently on a career break. I left my old job in March and I'll be starting my new job in June. Decided to take 3 months off because we're always working and it never ends. So I thought, you know what, now's the time to rest and recharge, and I'll be entering a more senior position at a top US investment bank, which is exciting. And I'm also a careers and STEM public speaker. So I had a squiggly career path from chemistry to cybersecurity. So I studied chemistry, and by the end of my degree, I realized that I did not want to work in a lab. And I felt like I'd wasted 3 years of my degree. And at the end of that, I don't want to work in a lab. So I said to myself, I want to take a gap year. But the issue with that is my parents would kill me if I said to them, I want to take a year out to chill out. So then what I decided to do was extend my studies by a year to go to China. So I extended my studies by a year and participated in the study abroad program in China. Unfortunately, whilst I was there, COVID was literally marinating. Literally, I was there when COVID was brewing and there were rumors of it. We were there like, it's not that deep. Woe and behold. So by the time it was January, that's when COVID started spreading because it was the Chinese New Year. So we were forced to come back to the UK. And so when I came back to the UK, our university basically told us that your year in China studies have been suspended. You have to basically finish the semester looking at how you can use technology to teach subjects remotely. So that was how I was exposed to technology now that my studies in China had been suspended. So I looked at how technology was being used to teach STEM subjects, in particular chemistry. So from then on, I then completed a boot camp in cloud computing. More specifically, Internet of Things. And as part of that, we looked at how the manufacturing industry could utilize cloud computing to make their processes more efficient. Then following on from that, I had the opportunity to work at a health tech startup, which was a fusion of my science background and technology background. So what we were doing, we were looking at using technology to help detect for coronavirus. So as part of that, that relied on taking blood samples, taking stains of those blood samples, taking images of those blood samples, then feeding them into an AI machine learning model. And so that was a really good intersection between chemistry and technology. As startups are not stable, it failed after about 6 months. But it was a really good experience nonetheless. And then I had the opportunity to, I was part of an organization. They had a recruitment event with the organization that I've just left. And I applied for a role in cyber because I liked my manager. It wasn't actually anything to do with cybersecurity. I thought he's a cool guy. I think I can work for him. And obviously with movements to the cloud, cybersecurity is now becoming more important. So I had a lot of transferable skills from what I'd learned in cloud computing, and I liked my manager as well. And that's how I accidentally fell into cybersecurity. So what I've realized between the two disciplines is that both disciplines require analytical thinking, problem solving, a deep understanding of interdependencies, systems, and processes. So I'm going to explore 3 specific areas in chemistry and hopefully highlight and make cybersecurity concepts a bit more blatant: pharmaceutical, healthcare, and energy. So with regards to the pharmaceutical industry, when it comes to cybersecurity, we have to think of 3 main tiers. You have to prevent unauthorized access to an infrastructure, detect in the event of an unusual activity, and respond in the event that there's a cyber attack. With regards to the pharmaceutical industry, you can apply that prevent, detect, respond concept. You have to prevent fatalities and death by detecting performance, supply, and quality issues and respond in the event that anything happens. But also, you need to prevent unauthorized access to the IT systems of the pharmaceutical industry. You need to detect unusual behavior of the IT systems in the pharmaceutical industry and respond in the event that there's an issue. The second thing we have is the healthcare industry. The healthcare industry displays a multidisciplinary approach to cyber attacks. So, for example, in 2017, we had the WannaCry attack, and that involved multiple stakeholders in ensuring that the NHS was protected and kept safe. So, in the 2017 WannaCry attack, they essentially had to improve resilience against the attack and protect against its potential damage. This involved restricting access to parts of their systems. As a result of that, they weren't able to, key workers weren't able to transfer CT or MR scans. And as a result, chemo orders were reverted back onto being on paper and being faxed. This multidisciplinary approach led to the workers being involved, the service providers of the NHS were impacted by it, the IT people, as well as the NHS organisation themselves. So this was a joint and collected effort in protecting the NHS and a multidisciplinary approach. The third thing we have is the energy industry. The energy industry is very interesting because it displays 2 aspects of cybersecurity. The first being it adds a geopolitical dimension. The reason being is a lot of the technology that's being used to implement these new green technologies come from nation states who have bad intentions, in this case, China. And now this is now a portal of access into our energy supplies because a lot of the technology we use is from China. And we saw a couple of days ago, the Ministry of Defense, they themselves had were attacked from China. So now they've got direct access into our energy supplies because of the technology we use. And also, because there's increased investment in the renewable energy sector, it's now a target for ransomware people because they know they can get increased payout, and also because they know like it could give organization bad reputation. If people find out that this energy company has been attacked, they've got more leeway in getting money out of a growingly lucrative industry. So in summary, we talked about a pharmaceutical industry with the prevent, detect, respond method. We talked about the NHS showcasing a multidisciplinary approach, and the energy sector being the increased demand for ransomware attacks and adding a geopolitical dimension. But to summarize, both disciplines require analytical thinking, problem solving, and a deep understanding of interdependencies, systems, and processes. And if you want to contact me, I've just realized the QR code isn't working, unfortunately, which isn't great. You can email me on here, and also my LinkedIn is Yemurai.
Thank you very much. That was amazing. Right. Who's next, do we wonder? Farhath, would you like to come up, please?
Thank you. Just 2 minutes. Hello. Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Farhath, and I work freelance as a full-stack/software engineer. I'm an AI and machine learning enthusiast, and I've been incorporating it into my work to just help me work faster. So today I'm going to give you a very high-level overview of how you can use generative AI to supercharge your productivity. So why should you start using AI in your work? This is a picture of Demis Hassabis. He is the CEO of DeepMind, which is now a Google company. He said, I think the biggest impact that AI will have on society will be to increase the pace of innovation across all sectors, which will lead to massive productivity increases and significant changes in the way we work. So there are big changes coming, and from speaking to people, even in tech, what I've seen is most people aren't aware of how fast these changes are coming. So we need to start using this stuff because it's coming anyway. And the faster you get ahead of this, the more prepared you're going to be for it. And Rob Thomas, the CEO of IBM, said AI is not going to replace managers, but managers who use AI will replace the managers that do not. So the general sentiment is that by specialists that use AI will essentially be able to almost 10x the work, maybe more. And people who do not adopt this stuff will kind of fall behind. So yeah, that's that. So there's quite a bit of a learning curve when it comes to using AI to work faster. I've sort of split this up into 5 different levels. So zero-shot prompting, apps, prompt engineering, automated workflows, and custom solutions. So level 1 is zero-shot prompting. This is kind of what most people do with ChatGPT. They just ask it to do something without providing any additional context or examples. So I find this works really well for resolving errors. If you get an error, IDE, just in the terminal, just paste it into ChatGPT, and it can pretty instantly tell you how to fix it or guide you down the path. This has saved me countless hours, and brought my time to fix errors down to a couple of minutes most of the time. If you're not doing this already, then why not? You need to start doing this. Then I've also found it very useful for research. So researching new tools, tech stacks for a project I'm going to work on, and alternatives to deprecated libraries. Also generating databases, schemas from natural language user requirements like user stories, and generating test data tables, which is quite a menial task, very boring. This can do it instantly. So that's what zero-shot prompting is quite good for. 2 open source applications I found are quite useful are Neubrowser and Godmode. This is a picture of Neubrowser. It's rather than just using ChatGPT and getting one answer, you can use this to essentially prompt multiple chatbots at one time. Sometimes you might realize you get bad results. By having multiple, you're more likely to get a good result because they respond in different ways. Neubrowser can also help you store your prompts and expose you to a bunch of different AI tools. So I recommend downloading it and playing around with it a little bit. And then also we've got Godmode. This one's quite similar, and it has access to about 20 different chatbots. What I've done personally is I've set this up with 4 different chatbots. All of them are ones connected to the internet, such as Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini, one called Pi by Inflection, and Perplexity. And what this means is I have access to chatbots that have access to the internet, the latest information, and I can essentially ask one query and get almost 30 tabs of research all in one screen with just the information I need. No introductions, no fluff in an article, no repetition, no adverts, and that would usually take me maybe an hour and a half of research, and that can be done in 30 seconds now. So level 2 is apps. At this level, we have tools that combine multiple steps into a nice consumer-facing package for you. So consumer-facing tools, these solutions tend to mainly be subscription services. So if you're trying to automate a lot of different processes, it can add up very quickly. So I prefer, and everyone is kind of releasing a SaaS nowadays. The days of buying something and owning it are kind of over. And there's something being released almost every day. So it's really hard to keep up, and switching between subscription services, trying to find the best tools, it can really add up and cost a lot. A great alternative I found is using open source tools. There are lots of developers all over the world creating tons of great open source software out there, and oftentimes more advanced than the stuff being released by big tech, because they have more room to experiment. So you can just plug in your API keys to large language models, and for a fraction of the price, maybe 20 times less, 100 times less, you're getting the same kind of results and oftentimes better. So some tools, I mentioned GitHub Copilot, most have heard of. Cursor IDE is like an IDE like VS Code, but it's built with AI in mind, so it's got a lot of useful shortcuts that can speed you up with your programming. SourceTree is like an AI code reviewer. Imagine how much time you could save if you don't have to go to someone else to review your code, wait for them to get back to you, fix changes. You can get this to review your code and make those changes immediately. And then here are a few open source tools. Devoxx, which is sort of an open source clone of Devin. There are tons of them out there. This is one I've kind of played around with a little bit. Make Real by Teodoro. And Open Interpreter, it kind of lets you, it's like a code interpreter that some of you might have played around with in OpenAI. It lets you write code and run that code. You can do this on your operating system and use it to like create files, convert files to different formats, and do a whole lot of more advanced things. This is just the screenshot of Make Real. So you can create a UI, just draw something out, and then you can generate a working version of it using vision models and large language models. So this doesn't always work perfectly, but if you try it a few times, usually you can get quite results. This is a very basic example, but the person who actually developed this actually talked here 2 days ago, coincidentally, and I talked to them, and they're working on some really advanced stuff. So I'd highly recommend playing around with Make Real and seeing what you can produce. Watch some YouTube videos, Twitter videos, some super cool stuff happening in that space. Level 3 is prompt engineering. So you can get far better results. Earlier I mentioned zero-shot prompting, which is just giving it a quick task. And with prompt engineering, you can actually refine, make your prompts give it a little bit more detail, and arrange it in a way where it has more information to work with and give you much better and consistent results. So a few examples of prompt engineering are few-shot learning, which is giving a small number of examples. Prompt chaining, using the output for one AI response as the input for the next prompt. So for example, write me a function that tells me whether a number is even or odd. It will probably return something that gives you true or false as the output. You can then prompt it again to use that output and say, make it print out odd or even. So it's taking the output from the last prompt and iterating on it and improving on it. Chain of thought prompting is breaking down the task into smaller, complex tasks into smaller, more manageable tasks. Like, let's say I have a user story from a client. I can pass that in and then give it a step-by-step, turn this into features, think through each of these features, write the code for them, test it, and create documentation. The world is your oyster with this, really. There's a lot more out there. Have a look, and you can get some pretty advanced results. If you don't want to look into prompt engineering yourself, there are actually tools out there that can do the prompt engineering for you. One I really liked is Prompt Perfect by Gina AI, and another really cool one. This one has sort of two ChatGPT screens, and you can test out your prompt in one, and the other one can improve it. Say, I need it to also do this, and it will improve it, add some of these kind of techniques and a bunch of other ones to do that. And Learnvit Pathway is another one. And there are various AI playgrounds you can play around with and LLM evaluation tools. So agentic workflows. AI agents are programs that can interact with the environment, collect data, and use it to make decisions to achieve specific goals. Agentic workflows involve multiple AI agents, each with specific roles and responsibilities, working together to solve a problem. So here are some automation platforms. They're software that help you connect different applications, automate workflows, and streamline business processes without requiring much coding knowledge. So these are all low-code and no-code tools. Zapier recently released Central, which uses AI to help you automate your workflows. Make.com is quite a popular one. And Bardine allows you to write in natural language what you want, and it will make the workflow for you. Super quick and easy, really good for proof of concept. And then I'm sure many of you like coding. With today's models, libraries, frameworks, with coding, you can achieve incredibly custom solutions that can accomplish some very complex tasks, especially when incorporating agentic workflows. So here are a bunch of tools that you might want to use. Hugging Face is the GitHub of AI. I'd highly recommend making an account. LangChain and Llama Index, the frameworks for building and working LLMs in Python. AutoGen Create AI are frameworks for interacting and creating agentic workflows. RAG is for getting the context and data from your documents and passing it to LLM, so it starts like to hallucinate. Streamlit Typey are for creating UIs. Whisper, DeepGram, Assembly AI are speech recognition and synthesis tools, so it's quite nice to have speech recognition in your apps. It's quite fun and makes it easier to interact with things. Light LLM and OpenRoute are tools for managing and routing traffic to different AI models. So you're going to backups if one fails. And Cloud API is a super fast AI inference. So most of you probably heard of GPT 3 or 4. When you use those those are probably the most popular APIs, but I highly recommend checking out Grok. It can give you instant results. So to get started, start with simple tasks, automate things that you do maybe multiple times a day, but take 30 seconds or a minute. Maybe ask ChatGPT to generate you a quick bash script. Avoid over-engineering. Leverage existing tools. If you thought of something, it might already exist because a lot of smart people out there have worked on it. Find those and just find a workflow that works for you. Everyone's going to have something different. Use your domain expertise to create a workflow that works for you. Thank you for listening. If you want to connect with me, you can get me on LinkedIn. I just made this Twitter. If you want to be my first follower, you can find me there. And ask me any questions about AI. I'd love to speak to you about it.
Thank you very much. Okay, so next we have Manogna. Up you come. Yeah, on you go.
Okay, cool. That was insightful. I learned a lot. So, and inspiring as well from both of you. Really, it's not an easy story to convince your leaders to do something because most of the times we are stupid. Okay, cool. I'll start with introducing myself. My name is Manogna. I am a head of engineering in Domestic and General. Domestic and General is a subscription-based appliance insurance company. We operate in multiple countries, UK, Europe, New Zealand, Australia, and we're moving into US as well. So if you haven't booked a plan, book it with us. We are sure to deliver service. Okay, I'll jump onto the topic. I just have 10 minutes, and I have a reputation to move my hands quite often. If I drop the mic, it doesn't mean I'm done. Okay, that eases up a bit. So I promise this is the only slide I'll read from the text because I tried 100 times to remember this and I couldn't. So imposter syndrome, what is it? It's a psychological occurrence when people doubt their skills and accomplishments and believe that they're not as intelligent as they outwardly portray, and so have a persistent fear of being exposed as frauds. Whatever it is. In English, it means that you think that you're not as good as others think you are, and you somehow lucked out into the role or got promoted by chance, and that you don't just belong to the league. That's pretty much the English from an immigrant mind perspective. So what does it mean? A syndrome, another syndrome. I know we hear hundreds of syndromes on the internet, and I just don't know what to do with it. The first question I get to mind with is like, am I doomed? So apparently not. And there are a lot of motivational articles out there which say it's good, it means you're trying new things, you're growing, etc., etc. And then at the end of it, I was like, I understand, but this feels really shit in my mind. I don't really know what to do with it. I understand it's all good and glory, so what do I do with the feeling that I'm going through? So the first question that keeps coming to me every time I find myself in that is it really imposter syndrome, or am I actually being stupid here? So I don't really know the answer to it because apparently from hundreds of articles I read, it can be manipulated or manifested in different ways. Some people, it could just mean avoiding a challenging situation and running away for the fear of rejection. For some people, it's overworking and burning out because they wanted to prove to the world that it's not by chance that they're there. For some people, it's actually not imposter syndrome, it's workplace discrimination. You're not appreciated for whatever you're doing. And for some of them, you are actually an imposter. You have to pull your sock up and get your stuff up. So, and in the context of leadership roles, as I said, I'm a head of engineering. In the context of leadership role, the possibility of someone feeling like an imposter is high, mostly because you start off with the situation of not having an expectation. What do I do in this role? When I join a company or when I start a new role as a leader, there's no clear expectation of what is expected out of you. And most of the times, the impact of that is just not for you, it's for the people that you lead as well. And you have a team to take care of, and they go through the same imposter syndrome. So you are there to support. And the pressure of that completely builds up in leadership roles. Every person has a different experience based upon their cultural, the way they grew up, their perhaps even the genetic make as well. So I'm not here to give a framework to tell you how to handle imposter syndrome. I'm here to tell my experience of going through it. And hopefully, some of you could gather something from it and try and use it in your experience. Well, the urge to be superhero, the classic one, isn't it? I find it every time I get promoted, especially into new stepped up roles, or I move companies where It's a broader role, and I haven't done that before. I mean, first time it happened to me in 2017 when I was promoted to be an engineering manager. Suddenly, I'm the boss. I was so excited for it and also totally engaged. I'm like, let me show them that I'm the best manager that they can ever have. I'm not promoted just because I'm a woman or maybe out of luck or they didn't have anyone else to promote. Uh, So, I mean, I really was totally committed to it. I was answering every calls. I was across all the channels, picking up calls at 9 in the night, killing myself, delivering on time, on quality. It did really help me. I was put into some high visibility projects. I was talking to my CTO at such early stage, but then the project failed. The project had 25 teams involved and more than that reasons to fail. But the failure was really personal to me. I really was disappointed in my own inability to make it cross the line and frustrated about that my team failed me. And I think the nail in the coffin was when I was passed over for a promotion. And the reason was not the failed project, was the reason on how I made the team feel about the failure of the project. They felt unappreciated. They felt that they were held to goals that are not achievable at any point of time, and they felt exhausted all the time, and they didn't really want to work like that. And that was the moment of reflection. I really had to think about it. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't work hard and get the projects over line. You should, absolutely. But what I'm saying is reflect on why you're doing it and how you're doing it as well. So after a long reflection of the past 1.5 years I wasted, which I thought I was glorified, situation was I really didn't know what my role was. What was my role? What was the strength that I was being promoted for? What was the value that is expected out of me? And more importantly, what was the value that I'm not expected to deliver? I was not expected to code. I was not expected to design. That team was expected to do that. So the moment I had that clarity on my mind, I had to really talk to hundreds of people, feeling stupid, meeting after meeting, figuring out what it is, was the moment that really changed my course of path. So if you find yourselves killing yourselves in roles, I know a lot of you are stepping into senior roles or maybe going into leadership roles. Just take a moment, reflect, build a clarity before you start on jumping into action, and do the same with your team. You might have people who might be first-time managers. Talk to them, tell them why they are promoted, assure them why they deserve the promotion, set the right expectations, and most importantly, appreciate. The moment you step into leadership roles, no one appreciates, everyone holds you accountable for the failures. So really do remember to appreciate consciously. And the second, which is almost turned out to be a value of my life, is getting comfortable at tolerable imperfection. That's my motto now. When you're in the leadership roles, it doesn't take long for you to figure out there is no perfect solution to anything. It's just how tolerable is the imperfect solution and how comfortable you get with dealing with it. Like it or not, it's the tolerable imperfect solutions that delivers value. And as you keep delivering value, your confidence builds up in your competence to deliver that. And the next one, which I struggle mostly as I stepped into senior leadership roles, is I'm not the expert in the room anymore. Most of the times, 90% of the times, I'm not an expert. So it happens to people who are smart. Probably we have to say people who've been told that they are smart throughout their life. I grew up in a small town with 400 people, and in my class it was 20 people. So I was the smartest one in the room. That doesn't mean that I have to know everything, everywhere, every day. So the problem with that is, as you grow into senior leadership roles, you now have context that you're not been exposed to before, and you necessarily are not the expert, and suddenly you feel that the team doesn't respect you. And what do? The premise that I always operated was, if you're not the expert, your team doesn't respect you. And now I have a conundrum like, what do I do now? So I tried the classic, fake it till you make it. Well, it worked for some time, but every time it worked, I felt increasingly like an imposter. And I started feeling, what if everyone in the room is doing the same thing? Are we all sitting on a mountain of stupidity, hoping someone else understands what they're trying to tell? And I realized that I'm making it difficult for everyone else trying to come into the roles. Now they have to fake it as well because they haven't seen me ever tell that, I don't know, I really don't understand what it is. So it was that moment. I'm not again saying that you shouldn't try to be an expert. All I'm saying is Skill set is not static, and all you need to do is put a conscious effort to get better. It's a long scope. And while you are on the slope, lean in with curiosity and authenticity. It's okay to say that you don't know. It's okay to say that I really want to know. So my life value, again, I forgot about that again. So as a leader, this is one of the classics that my mentor, my manager at that point said, as a leader, your role is not to be the best in the room. Your role is to get the best out of the room. So you need not be, if it takes to be the stupid in the room for that, so be it. But you have to get the best outcome out of it. And the life value for me has turned out to be disciplined to have a conscious effort in learning and be utterly determined to lean in when you're not the expert, lean in with curiosity, lean in with authenticity. People do respect that more than you being the expert in the room. So I'll leave with you with one final thought. As long as you keep trying new things and getting yourselves in those stretch situations, imposter syndrome exists. So twist the narrative to say, rethink the imposter syndrome as thoughts that come and go. And when they come, become aware of it and embrace the discomfort. That's discomfort is always going to be there. You better get comfortable with it. Lean in with curiosity and authenticity. And most importantly, find your principles. Your principles are your principles and very relevant to you. So every situation would give you an opportunity to have a principle on how do you operate in life from there. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Last but by no means least, we have the lovely Leena. So big round of applause. Last talk, we have Leena. Thank you. I'm going to use the, yeah. Thank you. A little bit of water. So excuse me while I set up. There we go. Yeah, so hello. What a great talk to follow. It feels like I've had my own personal pep talk. So tolerable success is what I'm aiming for. Thank you. So today I'm going to be taking you through a whistle-step tour of the Developer's Guide to Platform Happiness. What I'm hoping that you will leave today with is at least three concrete ways that anyone in engineering can use to help make their platform teams a little bit happier. I'm Leena Mooneeram. I'm a platform engineer at Chainalysis, who are the data platform for the blockchain. Ooh, there we go. So within platform teams, we talk a lot about platform as a product. So we say that platform teams need to engage with engineers. We need to talk to engineers to understand what the problems are and how we can help them. We need to be developer focused. We need to spend time to try and find out what the issues are so that we can develop and deliver a relevant and robust product set for our engineers. And so platform in this context is, certainly my definition, is a collection of tools and systems that engineers can use to help make engineering and building software a joy and much more kind of an easy process. So platform engagement in that platform as a product route looks a little bit like this. So we have that developer-centric approach that I mentioned, where we talk to engineers, we shadow engineers, we look at metrics of tools that the engineers are currently using and just see where we can try and improve that. And we spend, obviously, some time building new tools, perhaps maintaining and adding new features to existing tools. Then we spend a lot of time on evangelism, which is going out again to our engineers and saying, look, this is what we've got. These are the tools that we can now bring in. These are the problems that we're solving for you. Please use it effectively. But I actually think there's something missing. And what I think is missing is actually the engineer engagement part of it. So moving from a platform engagement model to what I like to call a mutual engagement model. So what makes platform teams happy
I would say mutual engagement makes platform teams happy. And the 3 things that anyone in engineering can do to very quickly make their platform teams happier is 1, be an early adopter. 2, contribute, be a contributor. 3, question considerately. So what do I mean when I say be an early adopter? Well, the early adopter is essentially the engineer or a team that uses a product first. And they're great for providing feedback and early feedback on any new tools or systems that are being developed. The benefits are, for any team or individual, is that you get to impact on the product that's being delivered. You get to impact on perhaps the order of the features that's being developed and delivered. You also, which I think is a great one, is you get to build really strong relationships with your platform team. And also, on a broader level, you get to provide really good, fast, actual, real feedback to the platform team on these products that help actually deliver that robust platform for the whole of engineering. The second thing that you can do to make platform teams happy is to contribute. So platform teams, in my experience, have a really broad estate. We can cover anything from documentation sites through to cloud platforms, through to internal developer portals. And so sometimes there's lots of kind of little things, almost little paper cuts that we may not get to and are not huge priorities for the platform as a whole. So if you want to make your platform teams happy and you see a typo in some documentation, please raise a PR, fix it. We'd love you. If you find a really small little bug that's super easy to fix, raise a PR. Again, we'll be happy to review it. And again, I'd be incredibly happy. And finally, if you, as an individual, as your team, have a feature for the platform that you'd really like, that would be super useful for your team, but in the wider scope, perhaps it isn't the highest priority within the organization, most platform teams that I've worked with are happy to collaborate or to work with teams for them to create and perhaps create that feature that we can then absorb into the platform, which then makes that feature much more, available much sooner. And again, just creates a much more usable and broader inclusive platform. The final thing that you can do that would make platform teams happy, and I think this would actually go for any teams that have perhaps a support requirement, is to question considerately. So platform teams, in my experience, kind of run sometimes a bit of a third-line support situation. Generally, we get questions if it's got the word Kubernetes in it, or it references a cloud platform, or a lot of the times when people just don't know where else to ask, it will come to the platform team channels or a developer productivity or developer experience channel. And so when anyone is raising an issue on those channels, the things that really help anyone providing that type of support is, 1, a little bit of context. So great, it's fantastic to know that you've seen an error, but it would really help if you could tell us where you saw that error. Can you provide us perhaps with a link to the repository or a link to the system, perhaps even, a screenshot? The second thing that's super useful is a little bit of background. What have you tried already? Have you eliminated any options? Have you looked for information elsewhere? Because certainly that helps us when I'm trying to help you. I know what you've already gone through, so I can perhaps kind of step in and help you find a solution much sooner. And the final thing is actually my favorite, especially at 4:30 on a Friday. If you post something in the channel, tell me the priority. Let me know whether I need to cancel my weekend plans and stay here and I'm going to kind of bed in, or is it something that I can perhaps wait until Monday to look at? So let me know the urgency. Let me know if it's a blocker. So what makes platform teams happy? It is mutual engagement. It's completing that circle and working with us as we work to build a solid and robust platform for the whole of engineering. So be an early adopter, contribute, and question considerately. So I don't know if we have time for questions, but please connect with me. I'm always happy to talk platform culture, developer experience, and thank you very much for your time. Thank you for coming.
Okay, that was our last talk. So we didn't have time for questions, sadly, but you know what? Go find our lovely speakers on the floor, ask them questions, say hi, they don't bite. And a round of applause for yourself and for all the speakers. Well done for supporting some aspiring speakers. And I'll catch you next time. Thank you very much.